what I'd like to do now is just kind of go around the room and share what are the problems that are solved and what are the top 3 problems that we're going to tackle going forward.
Everybody doesn't want to try VR for the first time, and there's usually a slow introduction to that process.
So I think it's a nice way to introduce people to this new way of gameplay.
What matters the most, especially when this technology is getting started.
Broaden audience or further engage that audience, and that's the experimentation I think we're going to have to do to figure that out.
That's where we have to, as an industry, put our time to develop those standards.
I need to walk into the park and walk out of the park and go get lunch and come back and walk back in the park without this huge onboarding thing that they got to do. Just give me a headset and I walk in there.
So it's great where you can go and you can have a high-priced experience.
45-minute adventures. At the end of the experience, we hope that the visitors will learn something.
If you can't step to the IP like enormously, I would stay away from it because you're going to underwhelm the audiences. They have so much passion in their IP.
It's very easy to fall into the trap if we create a VR experience, especially about the historic side. How not to make a documentary movie where you can walk in.
Talking about STEAM. Hey, STEM, science, technology, engineering, and math is awesome, but art, STEAM, to add the art, that's amazing. And I was like, wow, this is really resonates with me. We're a bunch of STEM nerds, but we really found the fun with the art and the creativity and the crazy.
The first immersive Van Gogh was launched in 2008 in Paris. Grande Experiences, based in Melbourne, created their Van Gogh Alive in 2011 and has expanded what's possible with immersive projection ever since. I recently flew to Melbourne, Australia to see the latest innovation in this space, the integration of free roam virtual reality. The leader in this market is Universe, based in Barcelona. They've built VR experiences for museums, cultural institutions, and even sports stadiums. As immersive art approaches its 3rd decade, audiences are demanding deeper immersion and more interactivity than projection map systems can deliver. VR is the perfect complementary technology to give today's guests the experiences they crave. I guess we're done. Shit, that was fast. I was over on LinkedIn messaging people. So we are here for another deep dive. I really want to thank Fabian and Emanuel for joining. We've got a lot to talk about. We're just going to dive right into it. Let's start a little bit with the origin story. So, and you guys will figure out who wants to take what part of this, but talk to me. Tell us a little bit about how you got into this kind of escape room business to start. Then we'll move into the VR part, and then we'll talk about marketing specifically. Who wants to take that?
All right, I will. Before 5 or 6 years, I tried to start the first escape room business here in Austria. And after a full time giving in the concept, Corona is coming in. And with Corona, everything stands still for 3 years everywhere on the world. So we searched for opportunity to start something like this for 5, 6 years. And after that, we're going to play VR in other locations. And honestly, it's pure frustration. Back in 2023, we tried every VR experience we could find: shooters, escape rooms, games. And let's be real, it was rush, it was clunky tech, weak graphics, zero emission, and most places had you to teleporting around with controllers like it's 2005. And half the way time you walked out dizzy and broke. And we knew this ain't it, not in 2023. So we keep digging and stumbled on vrCAVE. We tried a few escape games in our tiny living room, bumped with our fists in the walls, and we was pretty amazed. The free roam experience, the good graphics of the games, and we thought that was a plan. So let's write a business plan just for fun. And out of fun, a few months after, it was a real business. And we started with our first location in Austria to bringing some new experience to real life.
Yeah. Did you do any physical escape games before you got into the VR escape games? Or have you always been all in on VR?
We have started all in with VR. We have a lot of experience playing escape rooms in real. There's hundreds of escape rooms we played in our life, and it's a passion. So we wanted to do also real escape rooms, and now we do not only virtual, and we also do a horror escape game every year with live actors in it in a real old villa. And it's a passion we do, but VR gives us the opportunity to not building mouths and mouths into a escape room and start quickly over to getting a business running.
Yeah. What's the first time I saw VR escape rooms, I think I saw vrCAVE the first time at IAAPA in Orlando in 2017. And, immediately I was struck by what I consider obvious advantages to VR in escape rooms, right? Like you can have 7-8 different themes and different games with different puzzles in one room. And if you have multiple rooms, people can choose, and you can automatically level supply and demand with software, which, and then the cost savings, like each room with a real escape room could be 20, 30, 40, 50 or more $1,000. And here you throw in a half a dozen headsets and, $5,000, $5 to 10 grand max, you're up and running in a room. What's your, but there are a lot of people, I think, that look at VR games, VR escape games, and there's some people who, you guys were fans, right? And that are maybe resistant to the virtual reality, the lack of locks and keys and the physical aspects of it. What's your experience been, with escape room fans? Because we know there are a lot of people like you that have played hundreds of escape rooms. When they come and experience VR, what's your experience been there? What do people say about it? What do they think about it?
In the first place, it's really difficult to get people trying VR when they haven't, because in the mind of the people, they're getting dizzy, they're getting sick of playing VR because they move with controllers. So the first big problem is to getting them to try it out. And also from escape room, they say, oh my God, they built the room with months and months of work and love in it. And how can VR fit it the same? But after they play the first time, they are such amazed because of the amazing things they can do. So like you're in a moving train diffusing bombs or floating in space, solving some logic puzzles, things you can't do without VR. And so it's still teamwork, still adrenaline, still a racing against the clock, but now with dragons or collapsing dimensions. The core escape room DNA stays the same, but VR supercharges with the flexibility and for a replay value that you don't have in a normal escape room. So then after you go to escape room, you play it, they have 2 rooms, and after that, why should you go there? So when only with vrCAVE, you got 9 escape rooms or 10 or 11 in the future where you can play. So the replayability is also great. And the good visuals, because you're really in the world, because you move free. That's one of the biggest parts. And the hard part is to catching the customers to getting there the first time. After that, they're coming by themselves over and over again. So
Yeah, let's
it redefines the VR. So it redefines the draws out of normal escape rooms. It's not better or worse, but it's another way to get customers to getting some really great experience.
Yeah. Well, you provided the perfect segue into the main topic of this from my perspective, which is, how do you get people to play? And that seems to be, I've been kind of deep into the location-based VR space nonstop for the last 10 years. I've worked with, hundreds of companies, operators, suppliers, and the biggest challenge that everybody seems to have is getting people over the transom that first time. And once people do it, they love it, most people, but getting them to do it the first time is a challenge. And one of the things I was struck by your business is that you have this escape room business. And how many locations, because I know you've got 3 now and you're opening some more. What's the growth path of your locations? And then we'll talk about the agency that you set up.
It's exponential. So we started with the first one and the next 2 in the first year. And at the moment, we got 4 new locations incoming this year. And everyone is searching about a good business opportunity. They go on Google, they look at us and they see they only got 5-star reviews at every location. So that must be something great they do. We are in media, in press, we do social media, and they see, oh my God, it needs to work. So, and then they play VR. And they see, oh my God, that's not good. And they come to our place and they play and they are so amazed from the customer support to the success to the whole experience with the smell of fresh popcorn in the nose and all the things together that's making the experience so great.
Yeah. Well, you mentioned, and so I want to jump in. But then you keep throwing different things that I find really fascinating. And so you talked about Google reviews. So maybe we start there. How important are those to people, and what are the best practices that you've developed to get the reviews? Because they don't just happen by themselves, right?
That's right, yeah. For us, Google reviews aren't just feedback. They're the scoreboard for the quality we deliver. A 5.0 rating isn't a nice to have. It's a non-negotiable. We aim for perfection every single time, and we don't settle for anything less. How we do. It's the next level customer care, I think. We treat our guests like VIP from start to finish. Every game is explained in full detail. No rushing, no guessworking. If there's a delay, popcorn is on us or some free drinks. Something technical goes wrong, we tell them the problem and it's technical things. So guests still leave with a smile and a 5.0 rating because they feel how much we care about them. It's not only to giving them an experience, it's that we are the experience and all the things around. It's not about faking perfection. It's about creating moments that feel right. We give people space to be themselves and we meet them with warm patience and a bit of popcorn love. And I think the real secret, it isn't just a business, it's personal, it's passion. And our guests feel that in every word, every interaction, and every star they leave behind. So, yeah.
Yeah. How do you get, so that's fine for you. And you're, and when you have a location, and this time it happens a lot, I see operators who build location 1, oftentimes they'll do well. And then location 2 becomes a challenge because they're not there all the time. They're not putting their passion into it all the time. And you have to distribute that passion through staff with turnover and things like that. And so how do you, have you been able to turn the Google review thing into a process that, and if so, how did you do that to where it's sustainable and scalable as you add more locations?
Yeah, maybe let me chip in here. For example, we are on a franchise model, and every the location we're building up, the second, the third location, we are selling them all the process we have for getting the 5-star Google reviews, for our CI, our everything else that comes with it is a full package. And it doesn't matter which location you go. Just imagine like you book your first VR experience. You're not really sure what's going to happen there, and you're not sure what to expect. But once you open the door and you arrive at the location, you get hit by the smell of fresh popcorn. We give everyone the movie theater experience, get them reminded of how great it was back in the time to go to a movie theater, which was full of laughter, full of joy, everything. And after you open the door and you walk in, on the left side and the right side, you see posters from all the games we have in VR. We have all the escape rooms, we all have the arcade games, and they will immediately get hit with like such a big impression of this location, which feels completely new. It feels super high tech to them because it's something they never experienced before. And they will get greeted right at the door when they walk in with the fresh popcorn. It's for free in our locations, and all our franchises is for free. And once they start talking with us, we're going to ask them, hey, do you want to play? Is this your first time? Have you been here before? Is it your first time VR maybe? And we take the customer, we walk with them to the posters, and we show them what games we have, and we create emotional impacts from these games to the customers. Like, for example, one of these emotional impacts could be like, for example, from vrCAVE, we have the game Pirates Plague, and we're going to explain, like, for example, if you like Pirates of the Caribbean, we also have a pirate experience for you. If you like a horror experience, is something with Man of Escape, for example. And we create these emotional attachments to every customer so they have something they can relate to. Or for example, vrCAVE also has an escape room called Steps of Osiris, which is an underwater temple. And the first thing I'm going to ask the customers is, for example, hey, do you like Zelda? The water temple in Zelda, the escape room is exactly like the water temple. And they're like, oh yeah, that's right, Zelda was such a cool game. They would like to experience the water temple in VR, for example. And then I'm going to send them in this experience, and they're super amazed by the capabilities of VR. And also one of the capabilities, especially in vrCAVE or other developers nowadays, is we have a free roam area that's not very common here in Europe. Like in Germany, Austria, and Switzerland, we're one of the few has a really big free roam area. And if they have been to VR locations before, they're also telling us that they never experienced free roam before. It's so different to staying stationary, moving for controller or something. And they're so amazed by this experience, which begins at the door, which continues in the game. And it doesn't stop when we exit the game. We're always giving them some special treatment at the end. Like, for example, we're giving them a treatment if they booked like an escape room at our location, they book 45 minutes, which is the standard time for an escape room. But if they finish it within half an hour, for example, we give them another game, like an arcade game, or maybe something like Laserbots, which also vrCAVE offers at the end, to make the whole experience the 45 minutes that they're in-game time. That they just book an escape room, they're done, we say, yay, it was fun, goodbye. No, they will stay the whole 45 minutes they booked. They will get to every game time they bought for. And afterwards, they can have some more popcorn if they want. We talk with them, what was fun. Yeah. We show them the games again. Hey, is there something you would also like to play in the future? And also the customer care doesn't stop there. It sounds crazy, but like after that, if we have some free time with no more bookings, we're also telling them, hey, we have more slots open. If you want, we can play another escape room if you bring a time. And we're asking them if they want to do something else. And then afterwards, they also get the loyalty card, where they get some crazy benefits when they're coming again. But I think when it comes to loyalty cards, I'm sorry.
Let's pause there, and then we'll circle back to the loyalty thing, because there's something that I'm hitting on. You've hit on a couple of times that people are asking about, which is this popcorn thing. You've said, you've dropped that term a half a dozen times now, and so at first I just thought it was a throw-in term, but now it's become central to not only the experience, but it sounds like the brand. And you talk about evoking the movie theater experience and comparing the games to different movies or video games that they might have experienced. And so how do you am I hearing that right? Is that that sounds like it's very intentional on your part?
It is very intentional.
And how did you come up with that? I'm curious.
I think maybe Fabian. You can answer that.
I've made marketing for the last 6 or 7 years as self-employed and do website and redesigning and worked in a lot of companies. And from there, I get a feeling on how to make customers happy. And for myself, it's the best thing to get a 100% out of a thing. When you start something, you should do it with 100% of your love. And then I imagine when I get into the door, what I want to expect when I get there. And the smell of fresh popcorn is one of the biggest things I get experienced out of my childhood when I get back to cinemas. Nowadays, nobody gets to cinemas and nobody smells the fresh popcorn. And that's one of the biggest things. And after that, we implemented every step out of a customer journey side so that we can make everything like we want it ourselves.
So let's talk about, so one of the questions, I'm going to circle back to a question Nasser asked, and he operates some vrCAVEs in California. Back to the training and sustainability of this customer experience thing, because you talked about customer journey. And so, have you done journey maps now for customers? And do you use that tool?
Yeah, we're not using any tool per se. We're just using our own Google Docs or Google Sheets. We're doing a lot of customer research, because I think that the most important part of marketing campaigns is the customer research, that you have to understand them. You want to get into the mindset and figure out what really drives them to book an escape room. Are they looking for a new experience, an adventure? Is it maybe someone who likes riddles or escape rooms, wants to try something VR? And I think it's really important to get into the mind and then differentiate them between the different age groups and demographics and intent. Why are they coming? How old are they? Are they coming with a family? Are they coming together? And then I'm getting to the bottom, how I could make the product more interesting for them. Because I'm not a big fan of doing marketing where I'm just telling everyone, hey, look at my product, it's better than everyone else. So my company is doing something so great. I like to do something that I like to call people-based marketing. And people-based marketing, maybe if I elaborate for everyone, I think too many are hyper-focused on the products and companies itself, what value it can bring to customers. But I'm trying to do it like the big brands are doing it. Like, for example, Coca-Cola or BMW or Audi, like, for example. They all have in common that they are talking about the feeling what you get when drinking a Coke, for example, or when you drive a BMW. They don't have to explain what a BMW is, what a Coke is, for example. They're not marketing the products. They market clearly the feelings and experience you have with them. And that's also what we're trying to market from. It begins from the first step when doing like Facebook ads or Google ads, where we market the emotions from different escape rooms, like from horror escape rooms or something else. And then it begins with the customer care at the location, with the smell of popcorn, with the movie references, that they get some nostalgia from the movie theater experience back in the day. And that elevates everything and makes everything very personal. It doesn't make it like very cold, like only talking about the products, but very deeply personal. And that's something that to come back to vrCAVE, what I really like about vrCAVE, that I have so many different settings and so many different emotional aspects, and you can do so much storytelling with them. It's kind of crazy.
And so when you think about people-based marketing and you're thinking about who you're communicating to and how are you communicating to them, have you developed like personas for different types of customers? And if so, talk a little about, for somebody that doesn't know, who's never done that, who's never done persona work, who's never done customer journeys, in a couple of minutes, explain what that is and how somebody might take that approach.
Yeah, let me maybe give you two real-world examples out of that. What we have two personas at the moment. For one of the personas are just tourists. There are mostly families who are coming here. Our headquarters located in Bregenz, which is right at the Lake of Constance. And it's one of the biggest lakes in Europe, and it's a very popular tourist attraction for many families and with children, or just families in general, maybe with 2 or 3 different families as doing vacation together. And one of the challenges these tourists have is during the peak times, every beach and every resort here at the lake is overcrowded. And families are often stressed to get a good spot somewhere in the sun or in a resort. And sometimes there are even waiting times at the resort where they have to wait until they can get in or have fun or something. And that's exactly where we come to play, because we offer them a personalized experience they can't get anywhere else, with no waiting times, with no overcrowded places, and something that is truly unique, which they maybe didn't expect. To make unique memories where you don't have to wait for it, you just book it, you arrive, you give them the 5-star treatment, and they will be
So
happy. There's no stress involved.
I want to pause you there, because what I think I heard was the thing that's important to people who are coming as tourists, you're talking about it's not crowded, it's easy, it's these things that you typically don't get when you're thinking about tourist attractions. And so that's a message that you might not send to somebody who lives in the neighborhood. Am I keying in on that correctly?
Exactly, yeah.
Yeah, interesting. So part of the experience is understanding different audiences and knowing what's going to resonate with that audience. Now, how do you come up with, so for the tourist, let's take the tourist persona, how do you find the messages that will resonate with that particular audience?
There are different ways how I'm achieving that. The first way is just on my own experience. What do I expect when I'm a tourist somewhere else? What am I looking for? If, like, say, for example, I want to do a vacation in Brazil, I'm going to obviously Google what to do in Brazil. I'm going to look at what can I do when it rains or something. And that's where the first thing already applies. We can do Google ads. We can do Google ads for people who are looking for activities there. And when I'm there in Brazil, and maybe I see that my favorite beach I would like to go to, which I'm already looking forward to, is completely overbooked, I'm going to look for alternatives. What else could I do there? And that's also where I do the ads, for example. I have ads with a straight wording, hey, this place is overcrowded, come to us, no waiting time, and you can play and have fun, for example. So, and the other thing is, not only from first-hand experience, it's also A/B testing. A/B testing is also one key part of our marketing strategy, where we test different approaches, different messages, different pictures, different visuals, and different creatives all together to see which one is working best. And I also think in marketing it's super important not only to do one thing and then just keep it going, but also to always test something new. Always see how is doing this message against this message, for example. Or maybe how is this creative or this picture doing against this picture. And then see which picture is doing better, and then just building on top of that with the next test.
Yeah. And so have you centralized marketing for all your locations?
Yeah. We have centralized marketing, which I'm doing. I'm doing the marketing for our locations. We are creating, first of all, we're doing marketing for our first headquarters with the first creators, with the first pictures. If these A/B tests were good and we like the creators and they were successful, we're going to roll them out for our franchises because we know already that they're working.
Yeah. And when you were started, you had one location. Did you were still doing the marketing, I assume. For people who have one location that don't have the luxury of, a deep marketing background or the ability to defray a digital marketing expert across 3 or 4 locations, what would you advise them as far as starting to take these approaches?
I would always advise them to try to see who your competitors are in your area or maybe in your country. Try to see what they are doing. Maybe try to get into the eyes of a customer and see if they're sending marketing emails, what Google ads are they doing. Try to just be a customer of their own company, of their other company. I mean, go to their VR center, go play a game, look how they're doing, and then ask yourself, what could they have done better, which would you have liked, for example. And you will notice many things if you go there as a business owner yourself. You will notice what kinds of things they're doing different. You will notice that I have different creators or different marketing campaigns. And then you get an idea what you also could maybe do, not straight up copy. I'm not a fan of just copying things, but maybe also see something what someone else is doing and just giving it your own spin with your own words. And then my advice would be to always test something. If you have a good idea how to market either a game or a location, just go for it, test it, see what's happening, see what's the feedback, and then also see what's coming back with it, see what's working.
Yeah. What are your go-to tools? So when you talk about A/B testing and stuff like that, what are you primarily working in platform-wise to be able to test creatives?
We are mainly working with Meta ads on Facebook and Instagram. They have an integrated A/B testing tool you can use. You can set up different ads, give them an A/B test. You can also make ABCD tests with that. It's an internal testing tool for Meta itself. We can set up the different ads, campaigns, and ad sets to test different messages, different audiences or something. So it's really great. I can highly recommend it for people to use it. And then maybe you just give 10 euro for this campaign per day and 10 euro for the other one, for the B version. And then you just look at the data what did get more clicks, what has a bigger click-through rate, what did get more bookings at the end of the day. And also next to Meta ads, we're also using Google Ads. It's also one of our two most important pillars when it comes to marketing. So Google Ads and Meta Ads. We're also doing Google Ads A/B testing in the tool itself. We don't use any big tools like, for example, A/B Tasty or something, where we use website A/B testing. We're not at this point yet, maybe someday, but not yet. And also, I think at the end of the day, tracking is also really important, to track the touch points from the users from the start, from which ad did they click, and from which ad did they convert into a customer.
Yeah, cool. What's Nazar? You're going to have to call these guys. You got so many questions. I'm never going to get through all of this stuff. But he's like, "What else can I learn? What else can I learn?" I'll get to as many of those as I can. I promise. So, how are you use? So, paid social is obviously a huge part of your paid digital, a part of your campaign. What's, how do you measure this? Are you looking at return on ad sales? Are you looking at cost as a percentage of revenue? What's your measuring metric, and what are your targets? Do you that you try to shoot for on your paid stuff?
I'm looking at different data sets. I look at the front data set and the back end. On my front end, I'm just looking for what gets people going, like the click-through rate and how many clicks I got for this ad. Let's say, for example, I have an ad which has an impression, like 100 people saw an ad and 5 people clicked on it. That tells me it has a CTR and a click-through rate of 5%. And then I have a different ad which has, like, say, maybe 2%. Only 2 people out of 100 clicked it. So I know that the one with the 5% is more relevant than the 2%.
Yep.
That's on the front end. In the middle of the funnel, I'm looking for how many people clicked on the ad, stayed on the site, and maybe went to the cart or clicked on booking itself. So I can see, from an ad where 10 people clicked, maybe 5 got into a cart, for example, which is okay. Yeah. And then I see from 5 people in the cart, 4 of them made a booking or made a reservation. And then I'm seeing I have a good conversion rate from the add to cart to the booking itself. So I don't really need to improve that because it's already going great. And then I'm looking to see, where do I have the biggest drop-off? Do I have the biggest drop-off from the ad to a landing page? Then I know the ad is not performing well. Do I have the biggest drop-off from the landing page to the cart itself? Then I know the landing page is not working well. And then I'm trying to work on all these different stages, and then improve every stage by itself and improve the data and the conversion rates.
And can you talk about, like, what your targets are at each stage of that funnel, so people know what to benchmark against? Because, I think, I know I've done, digital is not one of my strengths, and every time I throw money at something to test it, I don't know if it's good or not, because I don't have enough of a experience set to know what's decent and what isn't. So what are your targets at each point of the funnel?
It's kind of different per marketing campaign. For example, for our cold acquisition marketing campaign, it needs to be as aggressive as possible and as bold as possible to acquire lots of attention from people, to stop them from scrolling social media, or from maybe stop scrolling on Google and Googling something else, to just grab the attention of the people. Because I like to create ads that are called attention stoppers, where people stop and they're like, what am I reading even, or what is this? And they click on it. And once they already click on it and on the landing page, they get into my retargeting funnel. And for the retargeting ads, I have a different ads with a different approach, with different messages, because they already know our business. They saw what we are, what vrCAVE is. And I'm approaching them differently with another message to get them to a booking.
Yeah. So at some point, I'm going to ask you to come back, and we're going to do a deep dive just on marketing funnel, and I'll get these answers.
I'm down for it,
because I know that it's really challenging to kind of boil the ocean here in a 1-hour webinar. But this is a really critical question, and this goes back to the scalability of the programs and the business and maintaining the brand and the customer experience. Now you're doing all this marketing, and Bobby's asking, how are you doing all of this and running the business? So I'm going to ask a different question. How many hours a week do you spend managing, just the marketing function for the business?
That is a very good question, because we didn't even deep dive into that. We're also doing marketing for other escape rooms, and we are also helping them out in their marketing states. I think around 50 to 60 hours per week only for marketing. But that's not marketing for only our business, but that's for all the franchises, for other escape rooms, and some other clients, marketing clients.
And obviously there's leverage if you're doing the same thing for multiple businesses or multiple locations. But if somebody had one escape room location, like how, they're not going to be able to spend 50 hours a week doing marketing because then there's nobody there to fricking clean headsets and manage staff and make payroll and all of the other stuff. And so, what advice would you give to somebody like Nazar who's sitting here saying, shit, I want to do all of this stuff, but how do I do it? I have all these questions. Do they need to find an agency? Would you help them? Like, what do they do?
I don't want to do sales here. I don't want to tell people we're helping escape rooms, but yeah, we do. But other than that, I would advise people to do the 80-20 rule. The 80-20 rule is to do 80% of the things that give 80% of the impact, and the 20% which gives the less impact to not do them for now. Like for example,
it's the other way around. Actually, it's the 20%.
The other way around. My bad.
Yeah.
My bad.
Yeah.
But I would advise.
And how do they figure out what that is? How do they figure out what that is?
They have to look at the data and see what's making them the most money. Is it Facebook ads? Is it Google ads? Is it maybe mouth-to-mouth propaganda? And they just have to figure out by themselves where are their customers coming from. And they have the option to ask the customers, for example, hey, how did you get to know us? And most of them would say, I saw you on social media. And they would be like, I don't know, I looked for something to do in, let's say, for example, in Boston or something. And they'll just be like, hey, I heard from a friend that you're super cool and I just want to go by. You just have to talk with the customers, get to know them, and they will tell you from where until they know you. And also then look at the data from digital marketing. Like if you see most of your customers are coming from the social media, then just keep doing social media and let Google ads on the site for now and just do the bare minimum there.
Yeah. Another one of Nazar's questions that I think is relevant is what percentage of so when we talk about the 80-20 for your business, like what percentage of your business, of your ticket sales come from paid digital versus other marketing things that you do?
That's a good question. I think around 60% comes from paid digital. And from the 60% that is coming from digital is maybe 70% from Meta, maybe even 80% from Meta. Because I think escape rooms are such an emotional thing to do and such an emotional product. And I like to work with emotions, with experiences that most of them are coming from Meta. Like we still have the 20% or 30% from Google ads, but that's not my focus. I'm just doing a bare minimum there, doing Google ads mainly for tourists who are looking for what to do in Bregenz on holiday, for example. But the main customers are really coming from social media.
I noticed you haven't mentioned TikTok yet. What's your thoughts on that platform?
There's one big problem with TikTok here in Europe, especially in Austria. There's no TikTok shop in Austria and not many tools to do B2B or B2C marketing for TikTok in Austria. That's not why I'm using it that much. I could still do like organic TikTok, which we thought about doing, but following the 80-20, it's too much work for too little outcome, we think. And we think more users are on Instagram, and also users on Instagram are on the average a bit older than people on TikTok. And people on TikTok are more on the younger side. And that's not the audience with the most buying power, I think.
Yeah. What about, all right, so we know paid digital is a huge piece of this. What about search engine SEO and search engine optimization? This was a big topic of the unconference in March that we ran in Vegas, where people were really challenged. One of the things I think it was Nazar said that he started spending money on paid digital on Google, and he found he thought it was dropping his SEO scores. And I'm curious, how do you use SEO within your business, and any tips or tricks you can offer in a nutshell?
Fabian, I would leave that to Fabian.
Let me think. One of the biggest things in the challenges of SEO is to getting good ranking with your keywords, and so you need to get every site you're building to get necessary for Google. So it's a some difference between doing SEO and doing a good website is not everywhere the same thing. Because in SEO you need a lot of words that are possible for a good ranking, but if as a business owner you don't want to use all of these words on your website, so it's a really challenging thing to get a good ranking, and it needs a lot of time. So if you're starting a business, I wouldn't prefer SEO as the first thing you do. Just doing good, great text, the FAQ section on every site, and let's grow the thing together. The only important thing everyone can do is making the first H1 thing on the site, making really good and important, like the word and the keyword that it's selling. So not the name of the escape room is important, such that it's an experience people are searching about. So to bringing a text in with about 500, 600 words and a good FAQ at every site is one of the easiest things everyone can do on his own without needing a SEO agency. After getting the business running and a half year or a year later, it's a good challenge to take a SEO agency or someone who is experienced with SEO to making things better and better for a long-term success. But SEO needs time, so you can make something and 2 months later you get the amount of it out. So it's a thing about running half a year or a year, some improvements to get out something that is good for SEO. So I think we can make with SEO about 10 to 15% revenue going up since now the last 1.5 years. So the Google rankings are on top at every keyword. We are on first 2 or 3 place in our country here, but it's a really long way to getting there. And a really big amount of money is needed if you're not experienced with SEO to do things right. And I also want to warn about some online SEO profis that are making their things over Fiverr selling or something. They don't do good SEO. So just looking into the keywords and doing 10 minutes and getting 2 or 3K about to do something isn't SEO. And a lot of them, the problem is that a lot of people mean they can do SEO, but they can't. So it's hard to get some really good people to help you with SEO. Just learn it by yourself is the easier way.
Yeah, I agree with that. And we're gonna run some marketing master classes in Circle coming up in the VR Collective Circle. And I'll try to drop a link in the web here. And one of them is going to be Eric Schwartzman, who's one of the world's experts in SEO, and he's going to be we're going to spend 90 minutes talking about how to specifically help with SEO, because I agree with you, a lot of SEO agencies, and I can say this about most agencies that I've worked with, is your bang for the buck is pretty limited. And so I'd be careful about working with agencies that don't have, especially if they don't have specific, experience in your business. They'll tend to sell you a bill of goods. And Bobby, he's saying FAQs on your website will definitely help with SEO, and it's a really easy thing to do. And so if you understand, if you can look at the keywords, spend a little bit of time with looking at search terms, and what Google has a website, is it Google Search Console? I think you can see what terms people are using to search for your business, and then build those in with FAQs. I think you'll find that's a really easy way to building SEO, for what little I know about it. Cool. All right, let's shift back to brand a little bit, because you've touched on some things because this is something that most operators in my experience give zero thought to. They think brand is the name of the business, or they think it's their logo. But there's a great book I highly recommend everybody read. It's called A New Brand World. It's by the former CMO of both Nike and Starbucks, 2 pretty good brands. And you can learn a lot from just reading that book. It's really entertaining too. But one of the things he says is a brand is a sponge, and it soaks up everything that your business does. And you talk about customer experience and customer journey from popcorn all the way through to Google reviews. How do you think about brand when it comes to your business, and why do you think it's important? Who wants to tackle that one?
I can do that. It's exactly like you described. Like, a brand is like a sponge, and everything you experience with a brand, like every experience from the marketing you see, from the experience you have at the brand, the location, from everything you hear about the brand, is part of the brand itself. A brand basically is an image. I think it's an image in the head of people that they associate a feeling or emotion or thought with that brand, for example. And that's why we try to do the best possible customer care we have, do a marketing that hits the nail on the head, and try to give them a good experience at RealityScape so they combine the brand with a fun experience they want to experience again.
Yeah. One of the questions just came in is, and this comes to positioning, is do you, and I think there might be some confusion around this that I caused by asking certain questions. Are you positioning your escape rooms as movies, or to frame it better, he said, how are you correlating movies and escape rooms? And I think it's a really important distinction to make sure we get it right.
No, we're not doing particular marketing to say our escape rooms are like movies or there are movie experiences, like playing movies. But we're just making the references to get the nostalgia in people up. Like we're not only making movie references, but also video game references, like with the underwater temple from Zelda, for example. We're just trying to find some reference points. They could also be books or something else in pop culture, where people they know and they have they can having a connection with it. They relate to something. Yeah. It doesn't need to be movies exactly.
And Sid, I think the thing here, and this is the distinction that they're talking about, is the movies is about evoking a feeling. How do you want them to feel? And marketing VR is all about emotion and experience. It's not about words or comparisons. It's really about how do you want them to feel. And so the experience they're evoking in the venue is movie-like, and that's where the popcorn scent comes in. And we've all done this. Like, I don't know if you have Subway, but you walk by a Subway sandwich shop, and they spend a fortune engineering the scent of fresh baked bread in their stores to lure you in. Now, is the sandwich as good as the bread smells? No, but you get this sense, this evocative feeling of like fresh baked bread, like mom or grandma or whatever. And so I think that's the thing that they're looking at. And when you're marketing any type of immersive entertainment attraction, you got to think about what feeling do I want people to have? And then along the customer journey, everything from discovery to ticket booking to arriving to having the experience to leaving, and then the follow-up is all about supporting that experience. And that's something that I think we all focus on. The experience itself is what happens from the time you put on the headset to the time you leave the headset. That's about 25 or 30% of the overall experience. And I'm happy for you guys to jump on top of that if you want to add to it.
That's exactly like you said, Bob. I can't add anything to that. It's like, perfectly summarized.
Yeah. So let's talk about the agency a little bit. And I know you don't want to sell, and that's not what this is about. But I also believe in conviction, and you guys sound like you really not only have you become really good at what you do, but you're eating your own dog food, right? So you're doing these things for your own business. What led to the decision to flip this over and actually start an agency to help other escape rooms, increasing their sales?
Since we also like to go and do escape rooms on our own, be it VR or be it like normal ones, we always talk with the ones doing these escape rooms. We know about the challenges. We just get into just talking with all of these people, with other business owners, with other escape room business owners especially. And they're like, hey, then we invite them to come play at our location. And then we just talk with each other, and they're like, hey, we really like what you're doing. And we saw some of your ads, they're great. And could you maybe give us tips? And from talking to just started our collaboration with another escape room. And then we started partnerships with different ones. It felt very natural. It felt very natural to talk with them, give them tips. And at some point I said, hey, you have so many great ideas and so many tips, but we don't have enough people to do all these marketing campaigns. We don't have the resources for them. We don't have the manpower. And then we had the idea, what if we did just the marketing? Because we had the manpower, we had the idea, we have the knowledge. And then we tried it for a couple of escape rooms in Germany, and we are driving success for them. They're super thankful, and it's a great work with them. And now we thought about, trying to create a second cash flow with that, and then also helping them with their marketing.
Yeah, interesting. And Craig had a question about, the process of franchising the business model. And I think that this kind of goes into marketing as well. And so part of the reason that people franchise is because they get certain parts of the business that they can't do themselves, or that there's no leverage in doing themselves. How does marketing fit within the franchise model that you're building, and separately, what percentage of people's revenue should they be spending on marketing to sell tickets in their business?
This is Fabian, do you want to talk about it?
No, it's okay.
It's different for each location, I would say. I can't say anything like, use 10% of your budget for marketing, for example, because
give me a range. Give me a range. Give me a range.
I would say between 10% to 25%. It always depends if you have is it in summer? In summer, we need sometimes more ads because people are out to go hiking or going to the beach, for example, and we need to get the tourists in because there's so many other tourist attractions that are doing ads, and we need to compete with them somehow. It always depends on the competition for Google Ads, for Meta. What is their ads in the city? Who else is doing ads? And we have to compete with them. Sometimes, for example, in winter, around Christmas time, we don't even need to do ads because so many people want to do something special or go to a vrCAVE game because there's nothing else to do because it's cold outside, or because they don't want to go to the movie theater all the time, they want to experience an escape room. And it depends on the season all the time, depends on the location, and also what your success is. But I would always advise, if you, for example, if you spend $2,000 on marketing per month, you should obviously also get the $2,000 back in revenue. At least be efficient to get the same money back you spend on, because you don't have to think about you need to gain so much more money than you spend on. Because if you think about the lifetime value of one of your customers, it's way more than maybe one booking. Because most customers at our venue, at least, they come 3, 4, maybe 5 times. And once we acquired them with the marketing budget, we don't need to spend another marketing budget to keep them coming back. And so the lifetime value keeps increasing over time while we maintain the same marketing budget, the same customer acquisition cost we had for this customer. So you always have to see the long term of doing marketing, from long term from the reach you're having, from turning new customers into loyal customers, and also the outreach. So it's always different and depends. What I like to say, maybe to add one more thing, what I like to say, I like to see money and every revenue we make, every profit we make as a growth accelerator. If we make profit, I can use that money to accelerate our growth even more, either by doing even more marketing or by also investing in other businesses. This is also what we like to do. We invest in other business models and also do, for example, we just built this summer a physical escape room by ourselves and with our partner here in Austria, where we now have a physical horror escape room. And we also invested in a business, this sounds completely crazy now, but it's a fully automated cocktail machine where you can get a cocktail within a click of a button. It's ready done in 5 seconds. It's really tasty. But we also invest in this business because we have many people as customers who are working in C-level positions, who are maybe have their own company, maybe who are getting married soon, where we can get this automated cocktail machine, send them this to the customer over the weekend, and also get some additional revenue and create different cash flows from not only escape rooms, from different businesses, for example.
Yeah. And I just want to circle back to the thing you said about lifetime value, because this is a really important thing. And I've asked operators this question before, and you just see their eyes roll back in their heads when I ask them this question, because it's not something they think about. And especially, which is, and this is about maintaining your database and how many people, and if you've been in business for more than a year, you have the information, you have the data to be able to capture, to figure this out. And the thing I want to layer on top of that is, as you develop different personas, the lifetime value of somebody who lives 5 miles from your business could be different than somebody who's a tourist, right? And this is why understanding personas and tracking your customer behavior within your business, within your database, is critical. Because if the lifetime value of somebody that lives within 10 miles of you is, $300, and the lifetime value of a tourist is $50, you can spend a hell of a lot more money on that local marketing, hitting that persona in your ads, than you can on your tourist ads. And so getting a little bit of sophistication and strategy into your marketing budget is really critical to make sure you're spending your money in the right area. And to circle back on Nazar's question is 10 to 25% of gross revenue. Yes. And this is the thing I see all the time from operators in their budgets. They have like 5% or 7%, or maybe they cap out at a 10% gross revenue budget in their pro forma, which is just not enough unless you are really freaking good. Because most businesses run, like if you're running 5 times ROAS, you're doing great. That's return on ad sales. I know some businesses that are 3-4% that try to optimize to 5 or 6 times, 3 or 4 times versus 5 or 6 times. And at a 25% spend, you're only at a 4 times ROAS, return on ad sales, which means every dollar you spend, you're getting $4 in ticket sales. And if you're not measuring that metric, you're just throwing money away.
Yeah.
So just those are the things I really want to highlight on what you just talked about.
And I also think you shouldn't get too focused on the high ROAS and keeping the high ROAS. Like, for example, I had clients or other escape rooms who maybe spent $100 per month for marketing. They got $500 back, which is a ROAS of 5. That's really great. But if you look at the big picture and you have a marketing spend of instead of $100, it's $1,000, and you only have a ROAS of 4, you'll get $4,000 back. And then you have to ask yourself, is getting back $500 from $100 better, or $4,000 from $1,000, which is slightly worse ROAS, but it's way, way more money.
Yeah, and obviously, and what you're trying to do is get that 1,000 from 4 up to 5,000 in return, right? And when I talk about optimizing, I'm like, if you're doing, $300,000 a year in business, and you're talking about spending on the low end 10% of revenue, that's 30 grand. That's 30 grand a year, 2,500 a month. On the high end, it could be 10 grand a month. And so, you might be throwing $500 on a test in a certain channel, but you better be spending a hell of a lot more than that and trying to benchmark against your own ads. And if you can do a 5x ROAS with 500, the challenge can be you can't spend that much money in your market without bidding up the words, and there's not enough people there. And so it is complex, and it's something we're going to have to dig deeper into to help give people just the basics information they need to do this themselves.
Yeah, I think we need another hour for that topic.
At least. There's so many questions in here that we're going to have to go into a deeper dive on. I'm going to put a link in case you guys aren't here. I'm just going to put a link into Circle right now, and I highly recommend you sign up. I'm just going to go here and put this in the link. If you guys go sign up for Circle, it's the VR collective community that we're building. We've got over 350 members in there now, and we're going to be running that's going to be the base where we've rebranded it as Lextra, the location-based entertainment XR association. We are building a trade association for this industry, not just for escape rooms, but all VR, AR, MR technology applied to location-based entertainment. And we're going to be running a 6 or 7 or 8 different classes of master classes for different types of marketing. And we're going to be starting that later this month or early next month. I promise. I've been saying it for a long time, but we got to get it done. And we've got lots of experts who are actually doing this in different parts of the industry. We'll be able to spend a full hour on SEO and a full hour on paid digital on YouTube, on Google, and a full hour on Facebook Meta, and a full hour on pricing, and a full hour on brand strategy. And we're gonna really dive deep onto all of these things because there's so many questions and there's so much detail to get this stuff done right. But I really appreciate your time. How do people find out more about and before I go here, I want to put this one up because I am actually coming to you right now from Kenya. Got into Nairobi this morning, and somebody was asking if you can franchise in West Africa, and I can't find their comment now. But where are you? Yeah, well, why not is because I find that different regions have different nuance around marketing, communications, stuff like that, and some people, here it is. It was Asan. Asan, what country are you watching from? I'm curious. And if you're in Kenya, we should definitely hook up. one of the reasons is because I think that, you guys are within, Austria, Germany, Switzerland. There's a lot of common language and sensibilities there. You start getting too far afield from that. Do you have any experience marketing in other regions so far?
I have experience. I have 10 years, almost 10 years now, experience in marketing worldwide. I've done marketing campaigns in the US and Africa, also in Asia, like all around the globe. And to be honest, I've never done escape room marketing in Africa because that's kind of special. But I would be really curious what that would look like in Africa, just to see how the audience is thinking about what's important for them. It sounds super interesting.
And so, talk just let's close on. So it sounds like you're franchising the escape room business with vrCAVE as the core product, but you've also got this broader customer experience and a marketing package, and then there's also just marketing services. So how do you differentiate about those two, and how do people get more information?
People can get more information about us either on our website, volunteerscape.at, or also on LinkedIn, either adding me. My name should be up there, I think. I hope it's in the right order. They can also add Fabian on LinkedIn, but I think I'm a bit more active in LinkedIn than Fabian is. And people can always shoot me a message. I try to answer as fast as possible. I'm always open to helping people and just giving some tips, because I'm a big fan of not gatekeeping any marketing strategies, any marketing secrets, because I think if we all work together and help each other with marketing of the business itself, the VR market will grow even more. And when the VR market will grow, we get more developers, we get maybe new hardware, and we all benefit from a growing VR market with every business we do.
I take those words to heart. I think you're absolutely right, and appreciate all the work that you guys are doing and your openness in helping kind of share your best practices and what you've learned and how, and even if we've just scratched the surface, we're gonna go deeper. We're gonna keep hammering on this subject until we all become experts. And I think Bobby says it takes about a year to get accustomed to all the marketing. And I think if you're in this business, you're in it for the long term. And one of the things I'll say is, Kylie and I are looking at building our own VR attraction in Las Vegas, and Vegas is a difficult, challenging marketing market. And I know that I'm going to have to figure this shit out. And I've been marketing for 35 years, and I still know there's a lot to learn. And you need to, if you don't want to be throwing money away to agencies that are just going to steal your money, you need to know enough about this stuff to hold them accountable for the things they say they're going to be delivering to you, and to be able to at least ask the right questions. And maybe there's a whole session we can do on just how do you work with an agency and what questions should you be asking them every month when the bill comes in.
Yep, that's super important.
So, hey, I want to thank both of you for joining. I want to thank everybody for tuning in. We had a great audience. I want to encourage you to use that link I put in the chat to get in the Lextra Circle, where we'll be able to follow up. And if you have follow-up questions, if you're watching this on replay, feel free to post questions on YouTube or on LinkedIn, we'll post this video in Circle as well, and you can join there and watch it and ask questions there. We'll keep the conversation going. And any last words from you, Fabian or Emanuel?
Oh, thank you for having us, Bob, and thank you for tuning in, guys. It was a pleasure to be here and talk about escape rooms and marketing.
Yeah.
Thank you very much for the day. If there are some questions left, we are here to answer them.
Yeah, awesome. Well, thanks everybody. We will see you again. Stay subscribed, and we've got I've got an Ask Me Anything coming up in about 2 hours, by the way, also in Circle. So if you use that link and you have questions specifically you want to ask from me about anything, I'll be on for an hour taking your questions about all kinds of crazy shit. So thanks for joining in, and we'll see you next time.
Bye-bye.
Thank you. Goodbye.